Today I'm going to be talking about Opeth as a band, how they have different phases in their career. And Opeth is a Swedish progressive metal band that started in the early 90s. What's really great about these guys is that they're not just death metal. They're progressive. They deal in rock, jazz, classical, blues, folk, and they do it all very tastefully. They're really good at crafting long, intricate songs that are both melodic and gutturally heavy. Okay. The first three albums that Opeth put out, I have to admit, I don't really care for those albums. Kind of makes me sad that there's this huge part of their catalog that I just don't like. But I'm going to be true to myself, and I'm going to be true to you guys. I'm going to be upfront. I don't care for Orchid, Morning Rise, or My Arms, Your Hearse. There are a couple songs. For example, on Orchid, we have the song called Silhouette. It's kind of a classical piano piece. It's really cool sounding. It's, from what I remember, it's just the piano, and it's very, very interesting to listen to. On Morning Rise, first of all, I love the album title, Morning Rise. I think it's such a cool title for an album. The only song I would ever really consider listening to on this one would be either To Bid You Farewell, which I've actually done a video on, and The Night and the Silent Water, which is such a strange and mystical title. But again, that's what makes Opeth so great. Orchid, Morning Rise are pretty lackluster, as is My Arms, Your Hearse. The track listing on My Arms, Your Hearse, I don't think there's a single song. The song When is definitely worth a listen, but other than that, there's really nothing about that album that sticks out. So the first three of their entire career are kind of lumped into the early, raw, unrefined death metal portion of their career, and I'm sorry, I just don't really care for it. Opeth started to shift their sound a little bit to be a little bit more produced, a little bit more commercial, a little bit smoother in production. They started playing with their tone and their effects, and obviously Mikkel got a better voice over time. 1999's Still Life is kind of like the turning point for me in terms of the album where their sound of old kind of reached a segue, bringing us to the sound of the 2000s. So again, Still Life came out in 1999. There's some really interesting tracks on Still Life. You've got the song Benighted, right, which is really, it's like an acoustic kind of thing, almost folky in a way. Face of Melinda is one of the greatest songs they've ever done. And then toward the end of the album, you have Serenity Painted Death, which kind of has like the band Death vibe to me. Like if Opeth could ever be considered or compared to Death, that would be the song. Next 5 or so albums after that segue from Still Life, you've got Blackwater Park, Deliverance, Damnation, Watershed, and Ghost Reveries. All of those albums, in my opinion, make up Opeth's middle age period. A post-death metal, more melodic, more, I hate to use the word commercialized, but in a good way. Their production stepped up. Their songwriting stepped up. The vocal quality stepped up. It didn't sound like it was recorded in a garage during a, terrible hurricane, which is what the old stuff's. It's just terrible. It just sounds like crap. I'm sorry, but it does. But everything from Blackwater Park through Watershed is just top-notch Swedish death metal. But of course, they do more than just death metal, and I'll get into that when I do the album review. The final phase of the Opethian career here would be going from the album Heritage in 2011 up through today. Now, I'm going to just let you guys know that I have not given their new album a full listen yet. It's only been out like 5 days at the time of the shooting of this video. So I will be eventually giving my critique of that in a separate video, probably in a month or so. I want to give myself ample time to figure out how I'm going to place this. The other albums that are part of this third phase of the band's career, again, I said Heritage, Sorceress, Pale Communion, and In Cauda Venemum. I don't know how to pronounce that, but you get the idea there. And so that's more of a progressive, more of a jazzy inspired. So Heritage has a little bit of jazz, a little bit of folk, a little bit of blues. Sorceress, the one thing I don't like about Sorceress, I like the material on it, but the production is kind of strange sounding to me. I don't know, it sounds a bit like muted or muffled. Not a huge fan of that. And In Cauda Venemum, I honestly have never really listened to that one. I still have to give that a full listen. So that might be a separate video in the future as well. So there you have it, guys. The three phases of Opeth.